Hi, I'm Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. Thanking you for checking out this Parents and Caregiver series brought to you by Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Sounds like, Doris, there are a lot of reasons why we need to pay attention to mental health disorders within sibling groups. Let's talk about managing the mental illness of one child within that sibling group who might not have the condition at all. Kind of what we're talking about now. The switch hasn't gone off, and then suddenly
Mm,
the switch goes off, and a sibling develops a mental health disorder. First of all, how important is it to be really vigilant in observations of the
mhm.
siblings of a child with a mental illness? And then maybe a second little follow-up question: what are the things we need to be observant for? What do we need to be looking out for?
Yeah, of course. To answer that question, so important. It's important to pay attention to all kiddos and to have emotional awareness. So it's important as a family to be aware of mental health, to normalize big feelings, to make feelings check in. Even kiddos who you might feel are too young, 6, even 4 years old, can understand flipping a lid, right? So it's important to make feelings check ins a part of normal conversation. Let each child have some special playtime with the parents. Get to know what each of your kids are into, encourage their uniqueness and their independence. Sometimes parents will have one child who it feels like, okay, that's my good kid. And then the other one is my problem kid. And sometimes parents will even say those things out loud. So the good kid, right, learns, okay, I'm the good one because I don't flip my lid or because I don't talk about my emotions. So that can lead to, of course, a whole nother host of mental health issues as they grow older. So the more that we acknowledge emotional awareness, we let it know for all kids, it's okay to have big feelings, but we can teach them emotional awareness and regulation as parents.
Appreciate that perspective, and again, lots of important information there in just a few minutes. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Doris. How do we, and this question, I struggle with it as I got ready to talk to you. How, I don't know that we could probably do a whole conversation on how to do this, but can you
Mhm.
walk us through how we can best manage and care for
Mhm.
a mentally ill sibling? How do we best do that as parents and caregivers?
Right. So, are you asking as a sibling of someone who has mental health issues?
No, here I'm asking for, thank you. How does the parent or caregiver best manage and care for that sibling?
Okay.
You're managing the mental health of someone with a severe
Mhm.
mental illness, and a sibling then develops a condition. How do you best manage and care for the sibling there?
Right. So the best thing to do as a parent is to acknowledge when you yourself are feeling overwhelmed. And through modeling, you teach your child how to regulate. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can say that out loud when you're counting to 10 in your head just to try to make it through the day. It's okay to even say that out loud. Okay, I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed. Mom needs to take a break. I need to take a deep breath. Do you want to take a deep breath with me? Okay. And then you can do that with your kids. A lot of parents want to hide that. But just like on an airplane, right? You have to put your mask on first before you can help the child. Learn what your own emotional needs are, honor and respect them within yourself. Acknowledge the balance between wanting to help, but also listening to your body.
Yeah, I really wish, Doris, and I think maybe there might be. I think younger parents today are
Mhm.
starting to figure out some of the things that you're talking about. Earlier generations, we were almost taught to hide it. You didn't let
Right,
your kids know when you were struggling. You
right.
wanted to present an image that you had everything figured out when none of us ever has it all figured out. And I just wish there had been someone like you in my life when my girls were little to let me know
Hmm.
it's okay to let them know that you're, as you just said, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're afraid. That's okay. And
Right.
I love that term. We're modeling behavior for them and letting them know that it's okay to be stressed and scared and to articulate that and to reach out for help. Really, really some beautiful thoughts on your part. I'd like to talk to you now about setting boundaries. It's any parent knows that it's really important to set boundaries.
Hmm.
I would think it's even more important if you're managing a child or a sibling with a mental health disorder.
Hmm.
Setting boundaries in general can be a bit of a challenge for a lot of people.
Right.
How do you best set those boundaries when you're dealing with a sibling
Hmm.
with a mental health disorder? You got a sibling group and you have maybe one or two of the siblings that are managing different issues. How do you best set boundaries within that sibling group and within that family?
Right. So the best way to set clear boundaries is to really get clear on your own locus of control. So what that looks like as a parent, or for anyone, is journaling. All my clients know that journaling is my go-to. I have all kinds of ideas for journal prompts for people, but one for this when it comes to setting boundaries that I love to use is answering the questions: what can't I control? What things are out of my hands? And then on the other side of that paper, for each point that you bring up of, okay, what's out of my control, what's out of my hands, what just feels so overwhelming, for each of those points, you'll write, what do I have control over? What do I need to let go of? Um, you can control saying no, for example, and setting and holding those boundaries. There are a lot of different questions. I can ask a couple more here, right?
Yeah,
Do you
please. Yeah.
doubt do you doubt the abilities of others? You know, if it's a parent towards a child, do you doubt your child's ability to handle and regulate themselves? Sometimes that's something that we parents need to be honest about. Do you wish your child would just change, right? That's even hard. Like, do you just wish your child would just get it together? It can be a tough feeling, but if we acknowledge it, and we can work through it.
Such great tips, and journaling is often my go-to in a couple different scenarios. So I wouldn't have thought of it with regard to that particular question. Thanks for sharing that, Doris.
Yeah.
Can you give us, you talked about, we talked about modeling behavior just a few minutes ago, and you're
Mhm.
so great. This is the first time you and I got to talk. I can already tell you're so fantastic at giving some concrete examples that Brother Be Well viewers and listeners can take with them. Can you give us some very concrete tips on how to talk to children when one of their siblings has a mental illness? I know how scary that would be for the
Mhm.
parent. I was blessed not to deal with that with my girls, but
Mhm.
I would imagine as scared as I might be, the sibling of someone with a mental illness would could be potentially terrified, and that could be really upsetting. How do you best talk to children about siblings who have mental illness?
Right. Yeah, that's a big one, and it's a really tough one too, right? Imagine being a child, you're playing with your sibling, and then all of a sudden they have a temper tantrum, or all of a sudden they become upset and they want to dominate the play, or all of a sudden they withdraw and they run off crying. As the sibling in that situation, it can be really hard for a child not to take that personally, right? It can be really hard for a child to have the mature disposition to say, like, oh, that's just they're just going through something, right? So you as a parent, you're spending a lot of time caring for the sibling with the mental health problems. So your other child may even feel neglected or forgotten. So an older sibling might be able to understand, okay, my brother or sister, they just require more care. But it's asking a lot to expect younger children to adopt that same mature perspective. They probably don't understand the true nature of mental illness. And as adults, we don't really understand everything, right? So they may assume that their brother or sister doesn't love them anymore, or they're intentionally trying to make them feel scared or to feel unhappy. There are so many complexities of mental illness. So as a parent, you reassure, you express love, you can help ease their fears and dramatically reduce their sense of confusion or uncertainty.
Those are some great tips. Really appreciate it, Doris. We focus, and I can't believe we're almost out of time today, but I got to hang on to you for a few more minutes here. We
Okay.
focus so much of this conversation on minor children and siblings with mental illness, and that's quite appropriate. This is part of a parents and caregiver series here at Brother Be Well. But I cannot let you get away without talking about the dynamic between adult siblings
Right.
when one of them is managing a mental health issue. I would think that's a whole different can of worms. Can you give us a few pearls of wisdom, for lack of a better term, regarding that relationship,
Right.
the adult sibling group and parents when there's a mental health issue
Mhm.
arises?
Yeah, definitely. The biggest thing that I can say is to be gentle with yourself. Do that locus of control exercise and know that although you might not have the same issues as your sibling, your feelings are also valid. And it may take more work to acknowledge them if you've been raised to put your needs to the side. And then the other thing is, it's not your responsibility to save your siblings or your parents. So remember to put your mask on first and know that you are still worthy without being the savior.
Doris, I hate to let you go. This has been an amazing, amazing conversation. Before I let you go, can you tell me just a little bit about you? I know our listeners and viewers are going to want to know what made you want to pursue a career in mental health. You're phenomenal at it, and I'm envious of the clients that you work with. I'm curious, what made you want to pursue this as a career path?
Of course. I actually started working at a law group. Um, they were family lawyers. I was fresh out of college. I didn't even study psychology in undergrad. I studied sociology. But I think I've always been fascinated by the family. So, in working in family law, I saw how involved LMFTs are in keeping families together or deciding custody orders. And that just turned a light bulb on. And since then, I've learned so much about just how important LMFTs are for families, for children, for parents, for adults. Um, yeah, I'm just constantly fascinated by the research. I love working with clients one on one. I love working with families, couples, kids. I just love the field.
Well, okay, if you can add one thing to that, I hope you will. Can you say, do you love working with Brother Be Well? Because we certainly love having you.
Absolutely. I love
You
working here.
You will be back. If you'll come back, I'd love to have you back. Doris Upshaw, an associate marriage and family therapist and associate professional clinical counselor with HearYou.org. Doris, thank you so much. This has been incredible.
Thank you, Michael.
Take care. We'll see you next time.
You too. Bye bye.
And I want to thank you for listening in to this either podcast or video, however you're coming to us. This is part of our uh, Parents and Caregiver series brought to you by our sponsor today, Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative. That initiative helps boost access to mental health support. You can learn all about that fantastic program at bluesky.blueshieldca.com. For our podcast listeners, I'll give it again, bluesky.blueshieldca.com. Another website, another.com that I'll tell you about is brotherbewell.com. That's this one. Videos just like this one you can find, audio podcasts, print pieces, compelling personal stories of strength and resilience and recovery, links to resources, all designed to help boys and men of color be well. Who are those boys and men of color? 12 and up, individuals 12 years old and up, African American, Asian and Pacific Islander, Native and Indigenous, and Latinx brothers, and also the LGBTQIA plus brothers who enhance those cultural communities. We've got something for everyone within those groups at brotherbewell.com. We're a membership supported service and memberships are complimentary. So why don't you go to brotherbewell.com right now if you haven't already, sign up for a membership, sign up for our blog, give us your email address, and then 2 or 3 times a week, you'll get notifications in your inbox about videos just like this one as they go live. All of that's available at brotherbewell.com. My name again, Michael P. Coleman. I am the content director for Brother Be Well. It's a great honor of mine to serve in that role for you. And before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to do 2 quick things for me. First of all, take great care of yourself. And everything we're doing is designed to help you do that. When you get that down, do the second thing for me. MPC says, why don't you reach out and take care of somebody else? Find somebody in your life that needs a little help and bring them along with you. And then collectively, we will all be well. Until next time, bye-bye. God bless.